figured to go back to the mug, like a talk show.
Like the Jimmy Fallon, late nights, David Letterman's. Yeah, the mug is a go-to. I'm not.
Plus, I have a sore throat, so the juice helps. Although something hot would have been better. I went orange juice, vitamin C, but I think the acidic juice is gonna make it worse.
Have you ever had a hot toddy?
No.
Do you know of a hot toddy?
I do know of. I've watched enough television
to know
to know the staple of the hot toddy.
I don't go to it all that often, but I have in the past, and it's helped put me to bed. But I feel like that is more when you are fluish and not so much like a sore throat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's getting sick or I've done something because Halls is not helping. So I'm thinking it's not an illness. It's more of I ate something that scratched something.
No illnesses going around the house at the present moment?
If I had actual wood... Oh, here's some. Not currently.
Nice. Yeah, there was a little cold that went around our house last week. We all caught it for the most part, except for my oldest, but it was only a couple days, so it wasn't that bad. I feel as though it might be the last one of the spring because we're starting to get some warmer weather. So here's hoping.
Today was nonsense.
Hey, so we had an ice storm.
No.
And was it eerily similar to the 98 ice storm for yourself as it was for me?
In the sense that I know of one, because in 98 it happened, and just as it like unleashed its fury upon the great city that we live in, I was off to Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I
at the right time.
Like, get up, hey, no power. Great. Well, we're out of here for 2 weeks.
We're leaving anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was. It was about 2 weeks. Yeah, the storm we had here in Ottawa and the greater Ottawa area, I guess you could say pretty much eastern Ontario.
Yeah. I can't say it's not open color with a conversation on weather.
For sure. Reminded me of the ice storm. And I was thinking a lot about it. And my one memory that I haven't forgotten about from the 1998 ice storm was the first time I ever tried venison deer. And my girlfriend at the time lived in the country just outside of Orleans here where I live. Went there. They had no power. So her dad, in I guess his infinite wisdom at the time, was cooking venison on a Coleman stove inside the house with no windows open. And me at the ripe young age of 18, even myself was thinking, like, I don't know if that's the smartest thing to be doing, is having a propane tank cooking meat on the kitchen counter with no windows or ventilation.
Coleman doesn't sponsor the show. We can talk bad about it.
No, yeah, shit. No. We can talk about them. The green cans, maybe. I can practice that. No product placement, but yeah, that's my memory. Trying venison for the first time on a indoor barbecue.
Have you since had venison, or was that your one and only?
No. I've since had it. I'm
not a lot. I don't know a lot of people that care for it.
Oh, I don't go out of my way to have it. But if it's around and it's offered, I will partake a little bit at least, knowing that I probably won't have it again for at least a decade, maybe half a decade. But yeah, I've had it a few times since. So
and moose. Moose steaks.
I don't think I have actually. I've had kangaroo.
Oh,
it's probably the most exotic meat that I've tried was kangaroo when we were in Australia, because in Australia kangaroos are like raccoons are here, so they have it on menus, kangaroo burgers, kangaroo steaks. So we tried it at a restaurant, my brother and I, and it was all right. It was gamey like every other wild animal would taste, so
yeah, I guess you think like out here like a kangaroo is something you'd see in a zoo, not on a menu.
Yeah.
But over there, yeah,
Well, it'd be like, I guess maybe beaver would.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like an
Different
animal.
parts of
Maybe a beaver, maybe a raccoon. Like, do they have raccoons in the our listeners down under? Can you confirm for us?
I
Are
think you just
there?
offended everyone who listens down under with your down
No,
under.
no. It was me trying to do an impersonation,
That's
and
what
I
I'm saying.
failed.
People don't like. It's like being over in. Well, I'm sure Jade's like that too. Like people trying to do a British accent, right? It's like you sons
Jade.
of bitches.
Jade does have an English accent and absolutely despises it when people are like, "Is that Australian?" And she's like, "No, it's English.
How hard
It's
is it
English."
for her to sit through Mary Poppins with Dick Van Dyke?
I don't think we've ever seen Mary Poppins together, to be honest. In
Well,
their
then just
20 years
ask.
together.
That's your homework. Ask her
I will,
feelings
actually.
on Dick Van Dyke's Cockney accent.
I will. I will have to. It's been a minute since I've watched Mary Poppins, but I did love it when I was a kid. It was that old classic Disney movie, right, where you had like the mix between the. It was Who Framed Roger Rabbit before Who Framed Roger Rabbit, essentially.
Yeah, with more singing.
Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Remember that? That was great.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, another one. Dick Van Dyke must have signed a contract with Disney because he was in a few.
Back in those days, like you were owned by the studio, right? It wasn't just you sign a contract for a flick. It's like you worked for Fox or you worked for
I guess that
Columbia
makes sense.
or you worked for, I guess, Universal. And then when your contract was up, you went to another one and worked at that studio.
Surprise, surprise! Hollywood owning the town?
No, and the talent
and the industry? No, not at all. So yeah, nothing new on our end. Nothing new on our end. Just
surviving.
You know, Jade was out in Nova Scotia for 4 days this past week, so it was just the boys and I, which is great. But you come to appreciate really quickly how much your significant other does. You know, and you realize what she takes care of in terms of the partnership in the household and what you don't. And when you have to do both, you really gain an appreciation for it. And
Mr. Mom was on the nose.
Yeah. Eddie, was that Eddie Murphy, or am I thinking of Daddy Daycare?
That's Daddy Daycare. Mr. Mom was Michael Keaton.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Michael Keaton.
Yes, sir. He got around with when it comes to various movies.
He's in his 70s. I mean, that's just nuts to believe. 70. I want to say 73. That's what I want to say.
Oh. Are we sponsored by Google? Because that's going to be happening
every week. Every week.
Except we need an intern that would just throw facts at us. Instead of us hearing the keyboards, you need like a pop-up of
I'll just grab my oldest son to come up here and just sit in the back corner, have him on standby with a laptop or a tablet just to tell us everything we need to know. Quick, Oliver, Google who invented Blue Beetle. Now, do it.
Oh, you want to go right into the...
I don't know. Because I know we're going to talk about it at some point tonight, so I figured we would. But before we do, let me drop the intro, because we are trying to get into the frame of things. So welcome to Open Collar, the podcast that keeps you updated on the latest happenings in movies, TVs, and all things geek culture. Whether you're a diehard fan or just looking to pass the time with some laughs, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a wild ride. I'm Steve, and that over there is Cory, and this is episode 105 of Open Collar.
I love the that over there.
It gets you every time, doesn't it?
It's just like that piece of shit.
And that over there is... Hey, that's what Chat GPT. I don't know.
It's like they know something.
If you have a problem with it, go talk to the robots, all right, Cory?
All right.
Go talk to our soon-to-be overlords.
Yeah, make some dollars and open them collars. So, yeah, quiet week. Surviving the ice storm. That's all we got for the grand scheme of things at the moment.
Yeah,
That
and we're
and-
supposed to get up to like 15 degrees. What was it, 15 degrees next Wednesday or some shit like
we'll
that?
see.
Yeah. But people are like, can you believe it? Like April, like this weather in April? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm
Yes.
pretty sure we've had weather like this in April before. Like this isn't anything new. It may have been a couple years or a few, but there's a reason why you leave your winters on until the beginning of May.
Oh yeah.
Right.
If my memory serves, I'm pretty sure I read that Ottawa has had snow every month of the year except for July in its history.
Really? Even June and August? Wow.
If memory serves. And we all know.
When I was about, I'm going to say between 11 and 13, I used to go out and visit my dad in Calgary every summer, my brother and I. And we'd stay out there for the whole summer. And it was July 22nd, I want to say, because I feel like it was my grandfather's birthday, because we took him to a Stampeders game. And we went to the game and we were wearing shorts and it was like 10 degrees, it was kind of cooler or whatever. But by the end of the third quarter, we had 5 centimeters of snow.
Love it.
And we had to leave. We weren't prepared. We had no idea. We had our shirts and our shorts and we were like, we're going to freeze to death in July. And that was in Calgary, which I'm not surprised if you've been there. For people that have been there, you can get all 4 seasons in one day. You can wake up with, sun. You have hail in the mid-morning, rain in the afternoon, and by the evening you'll have snow on the ground. It's just weird. So,
just a rite of passage to live in the Berta.
It's just they're higher. I'm assuming part of it has to do with the fact that it's much higher of an altitude than we are where we are in Ottawa. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be a meteorologist,
because like we living here too is you'll literally be in July 40-some degrees. You get the severe thunderstorm warning. You can look at the weather radar and you can see it bearing down on us, and then within 10 minutes you look at it again and it just broke up.
Yeah, it's gone.
Just once it gets past the valley, it just more often than not it dissipates. It's insane.
Which holds true because when we used to have our trailer was just maybe 25 minutes past Renfrew, and it was on a lake, and we learned very quickly. But there were a few instances when we decided that we wouldn't go up for the weekend because here in Ottawa it was showing that it was going to be stormy and bad weather all weekend. But people that were up there, our friends, were like, no, completely past us. And so there's certain pockets, right, like where even though it's an hour and a half away from here, had completely different weather. So yeah, to your point, like it depends. Like it can just break up when it gets into the valley and can be a completely different weather system. Look at us talking weather.
That's what I'm saying. We're old
for 10 minutes and loving it too.
And
might I add,
with like by the next episode, we're going to be talking strictly about people on our yards.
And by episode 110, I'll be bitching about Nancy Grace on CNN. You watch Nancy Grace? Jesus, she pisses me off. The things she says.
Telling kids get haircuts.
That's right. Get off my porch.
All right, let's venture into what we know best. Some geek news. Yeah.
I love it.
Visuals. Great for audio. Visuals.
It's true.
People don't know I pressed a button and there's a...
For those listening, come and subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can see when we're recording live, so you can actually visualize the audio that you're hearing.
Again, I put this up visually. It doesn't help people listening. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. At Open Collar Pod. That's us.
At Open Collar Pod.
That's right.
What's on deck? Or what's up, I should say.
Whatever this is, I'm pretty sure this is Blue Beetle.
Okay, so hold on before you... Okay, we'll go.
I'm pausing.
Have you seen it yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so let's mute and let's just watch it. So I
Okay.
want to get your opinion after. Can you full screen it?
Sweetly. As full screen as we can go.
Perfect. Can't hear anything.
No, we can't hear anything. We got to start this over again.
Technical difficulties. Again, weather, technical difficulties,
It's what we do.
age. I'm very interested, though, to hear what you have to say about this trailer because.
Excuse me, Mr.
Here now.
Reyes? You finished scraping the gum off that lounger or what?
Everything right now feels so out of reach.
You always land on your feet, bro. You're Jaime.
They don't get out much.
I just wanna rock.
Jenny?
Guard that with your life, but do not open it.
You went in to get us jobs, and all you brought back was a hamburger?
Okay, I don't think it's a burger.
You haven't looked?
What the hell is that?
How did you get it to do that?
I think he likes me.
Jaime.
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. What the?
Host acquired.
Who said that? It's okay, it's gonna be okay! Space.
Re-entry systems ready.
Wait, no!
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want.
What is going on?
I just wanna rock.
It's called the Scarab. It's some kind of world-destroying weapon. It's designed to protect its host.
This ain't what you want.
Sometimes it does what you want, and sometimes it doesn't.
Body out of here.
I think I cut a bus in half.
The Scarab chose you, but it belongs to me.
That love you feel for your family makes you weak. I just wanna rock. You gon' kill my vibe, stand on my money, don't know my side. The universe has sent you a gift, and you have to figure out what you're gonna do with it. That's my high. 1, 2, 3, 4, throw up to 5.
Whatever you can imagine, I can create.
Let's party.
Nice choice.
I just wanna rock.
It's like Batman stuff. Batman's a fascist.
I just wanna rock.
I don't know.
And you get her?
It really does seem like it wants to be a lot of things.
Yes. A lot of different things, right? Like a lot of
Yeah.
it's trying to pick and
So,
which
like,
is not necessarily a bad thing.
right. Like, I don't want to say it's for lack of a better term, like a Latino Iron Man, but a lot of the flying up and falling and all that stuff with the like AI Jarvis type thing helping out.
Yeah, Friday Jarvis. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like, it looks like it wants to be funny and fun,
Mm-hmm.
but then it goes like all horror elements when the suit's like expanding and taking over. So it's like, it just seems that didn't seem to fit with what the rest of it's going. And then like you little Green Lantern with You Were Chosen, and I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny. Iron Man, Green Lantern, Shazam were all kind of things that I was thinking about when I saw the trailer. And this is only the second time I saw it. Literally, when you messaged me earlier in the week, I was in the middle of watching it, and I finished, and I was like, my expectations for it are literally nothing. So I'm okay with it. Like if it's trying to be whatever it's trying to be, show me when and if it's successful, then lose any sleep. But yeah, definitely like an Iron Man feel for sure. But I think tonally, you'd have to imagine that it's going to be leaning more on the comedic side, because I can't imagine George Lopez being in anything that isn't a comedy.
Super serious.
Like he's just a comedic. Yeah, he's just a comedic actor, and so I don't think he will be a part of a darker movie. And there might be elements of it, but I'm trying not to invest myself so much into what the movie could be, because I don't know how it falls into the big grand scheme of things. So I'm just really approaching it like it's its own movie. It's a one-off. Like I'm not expecting sequels. For myself, I'm not sure about you, but I haven't read a lot of Blue Beetle comics.
Well, my knowledge of Blue Beetle has been like his appearance in animation.
Yeah. I Ted Cord from like old JLA and like JSA and Justice League International comics, like like they would, and Booster, like him and Booster Gold are best friends. But Jamie Reyes, I don't know. Other than that, he was created during Infinite Crisis, which was 2005. So yeah, 18 years ago. But yeah, like it's a Jarvis, like you said, like it's that Jarvis, it's that Friday, it's that AI suit, and anything you can think of, I can create. So that right there lends itself to the possibility where it could be a fun movie, because if they are smart about it and they hopefully don't go down the road of Green Lantern, which was just like atrocious. They could actually turn this into a fun movie and not expect anything more from it.
I'll ask you quickly because, not say quickly, but I'll ask you. Like I said, we are short on time.
Answer quick.
So I know you didn't finish Miss Marvel, but I know you're probably aware that they changed her powers in the series.
Yeah, because I
moved
saw
away from like the Reed Richards, like plastic form. Do you fear that if you go, because it sounds like James Gunn loves this movie and it says he's gonna it's gonna be canon into what he's doing now with the DC.
Maybe from that Batman phrase too that George Lopez and Jamie Reyes said. Maybe because there was that Batman reference. So
when you so for what we're talking about, how you have Blue Beetle that's kind of Green Lantern-esque, do you run the risk of, well, this makes it harder now, or seems kind of redundant now to bring in Green Lantern with, if this guy's powers can do whatever he imagines, which is what the Lantern does, right? Empowering, overlapping.
Well, and even to your point, so I was looking at the IMDb credits and like who the cast members are and what characters they're playing, and I guess the one girl is like Victoria Cord. I think it's Victoria Cord, but Cord anyway, which is Ted Cord is the second Blue Beetle before Jamie Reyes. But in the trailer, she was saying it's the most powerful or a weapon of mass destruction. Like I forget how she said it exactly, but that Scarab was very powerful. Well, yeah, to your point, like what about the ring that the Lanterns use? So I don't know. I mean, I think when it comes to that kind of stuff, though, about like the most powerful weapon, I guess you kind of got to go with the flow and buy into what they're saying, because there's always going to be that other weapon that's powerful and can do more destruction and can cause more damage and chaos and whatnot. And I think it's whatever you invest in terms of like what you invest into the movie. If you are nitpicking or if you're just going with the flow, I don't even know. I'm just for this one, I'm just gonna wait, right?
Yeah. I was just saying, because if you have it at August 17th, I think it's at the end. If you have an Avengers level threat every fifth movie, what's a low level thug that's gonna terrorize one city really hold in the grand scheme of things?
Like Frogman in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Right.
The obscure She-Hulk Frogman villain.
They actually have a Marvel Legends Frogman figure, which Oliver has. I don't have it, but
Yep.
he's just
Well,
like
you
a
have
street
toys,
level
right?
villain.
You get some figures and then they walk off with them.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, like I'm okay. Like I mean, I'll see it. I think and if from a visual effects perspective, like if it's fun to watch, then good. I'm okay with that. Like I'm not walking into this movie like I am with the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Ant-Man 3, where I'm like I have expectations of a larger story moving forward because of what they told me.
Right.
This I'm just like, it is what it is. Let's just have some fun with it.
I think you almost at this point now need to go into everything thinking, yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And do I want to go in with expectations and walk out disappointed, or go with low expectations?
But I'll be really curious. Like, I'll be curious to know like what the success of this movie is, in terms of like opening day weekend and like 30 days at the box office and whatnot. Because then, depending on how it does, I might question like, well, what was wrong with the Batwoman or Batgirl movie that it couldn't have been released?
Fair enough.
Like
how as of yesterday. No, actually, as of today, Shazam is on digital.
Is it today?
Yeah.
I thought it was April 17th.
No, April 7th.
It's just pushing it up.
Came out 3 weeks ago and already out. People can.
That's bad.
POD.
That's bad.
That's what. Yeah. So they get into your point. How bad was Batwoman?
Yeah. Maybe it was just like the shake up. Anyway, I mean, it is what it is. I didn't really catch any cameos from. Not cameos, pardon me, but like Easter eggs from the Blue Beetle trailer. Yeah, not that I noticed. And again, like I don't have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that character. So maybe there were Easter eggs, but nothing that I caught.
Moving on to the next fun bit of superhero. Secret Invasion.
Fury. Since you've been gone, things have gotten much worse. Why do you think I came back?
You're in no shape for this fight that lies before us, old friend.
This is personal.
Very few of us know about the wars fought in the shadows that have raged on this planet. Do you feel responsible?
Where are the Avengers? This war is one I have to fight alone. You're the most wanted man on the planet.
You don't know what they have planned for you.
The great Nick Fury. One last fight.
Oh man. Go ahead, sir.
So, one shot of a scroll, and that's supposed to explain it all to everybody, I guess, eh? Because if you don't know, now you know.
Secret Invasion is one of my all-time favorite storylines in the MCU, or MCU, pardon me, in the comic books.
It's not that old either. It isn't like
no, it's like
early
2000, 2005, I want to say. It was like, in my opinion, almost like the golden era of comic books. Like Brian Michael Bendis started with Avengers Disassemble, and then he did New Avengers and Secret Invasion and Civil War, and it was like a 15-year episodic journey with the comics, and this was right in the middle of it, and it was so good. And I really hope, like, I feel like there's a lot of potential, and I'm watching the trailer now for the second time, and I can't make heads or tails. And like, part of me, when I saw it the first time, I thought, oh, Talos is, I think his name's Talos, double crossing Fury. Like, he was portrayed as a good guy in Captain Marvel, and now his true colors will show. But then I'm like, well, maybe not. And then Queenie from The Crown, I forget what character she plays. Is she?
She's an MI6 agent.
Yeah, like a Q or something like that, or like an M. Pardon me.
Yeah, I knew you were talking about.
Thank you. One of the letters.
One of the MI6s.
But I'm thinking to myself, well, is she like the Queen Skrull? And so I don't really know what to make of it. And then I'm thinking, well, is Fury a Skrull? And he's just like, he thinks he's human. So I don't know, but I am very happy that regardless of how this turns out, if it's shit, or if it's amazing, if it meets our expectations or not, I am happy that they didn't do Secret Invasion as a movie, and I'm very happy that they did it episodically as a series, if that's even a word.
Would you, no matter what, still have some disappointment that it seems by design it is going to remove any of the superhero characters from this? So like no Thor, Iron Man, because I guess it's set during, from what I understand, set during the 5-year period of the blip, right after Thanos.
Right.
So the OG Avengers are the ones that are sticking around, but all the other characters are dusted.
I can't answer that question right now because I'm holding out hope that this is like setting the foundation for a larger of the Skrulls in the MCU, and that they will address that question later on. So I'm kind of hoping that I'm hoping, and I'm okay with the fact that there isn't the Thors and the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas involved, and it's just like right now it's not, the Pandora's box hasn't been opened, I guess. Okay. With the exception of a few that are in the know, is what I'm hoping it will be. But then after the series, like once it kind of, the box is open and we Skrulls are secretly invading, then it starts to build that intrigue. Like, well, is Tony really Tony? And is Rhodey really Rhodey? And so, but for now, I'm okay with it being more espionage. And I think we've talked about this before. Like, one of your favorite MCU movies and mine definitely is Winter Soldier. And if this even has like a bit of that feel of the Winter Soldier movie, like I'm in. I'm all.
It is funny that like the best one and like that, or the best one in many people's eyes, is the least superhero movie of all of them.
But it was like, it was filmed so amazingly. Like, it was suspenseful, and so
it was by design to be unlike everything that came before it.
Yeah, what was it, 2014 too? So it was like only 6 years into. Well, 6 years is still a lot. I was going to say it was still in the infancy of the MCU, but not really when you think about it. It was kind of halfway through when Endgame came, so it was like the halfway mark. So, but no, I what are they going to do about Nick Fury though? Like they're portraying him now as like older and more beaten down and aging, even though he's supposed to have the infinity serum in him, which I guess clearly he doesn't anymore. But does that mean, and if this takes place during the blip, does that mean that we're not going to expect to see Nick Fury in phases 5 and 6? And let's not get us started on phases 5 and 6, but
We might not be around to see phases 5 and 6.
That's fair enough.
Or 6 and 7 or whatever. I don't know. It seems like it's like his final ride is really how this is being portrayed.
And who's Daenerys playing in the show? Emilia Clarke, is it? Is Emilia?
I think it was revealed she is Talos's daughter that we saw in Captain Marvel grown up.
Oh, okay.
So scroll.
So Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. This takes place during the blip. She was... How old was she in Captain Marvel? I can't remember.
I'd say 10.
94,
so
20,
20
30.
years.
Okay.
Or
30 years, yeah. Interesting.
Makes sense,
what is time, right?
It's relative.
It's relative, yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, she is a relative.
But that's what, coming out in 2029?
Oh, June.
June.
Although I think it did say this June, so we're okay.
For now. No, I'm excited for it.
Despite our freaking out.
I would say of all of the TV shows that have been announced or that we're aware of, this is probably the one I'm most excited for, just because of the potential and my love for the source material. Have you read the Secret Invasion storyline that Bendis and who drew it? It was Lionel Yu. I think it was Lionel Yu that drew it.
No, that one I have not.
You have to do it.
I'll get it.
You have to. It's.
I'll do it.
I mean, try and read it before the story comes out. Because you might have some things that are spoiled, but.
Well, I have until June.
You have some time.
I'm sure there's a trade paperback that I can.
Oh, for sure.
Get it all in one go.
Definitely.
So, since we're talking about, before we go into the next bit, I saw this quote I wanted to ask you. So, James Gunn was quoted saying, he was asked about superhero fatigue, and according to him, he says, superhero fatigue isn't about superhero movies, but watching things bash each other with no story. So, do you agree with that sentiment? That there's not really fatigue, it's just people are tired of the movies sucking?
I agree with him. I think the way I look at it is that we have now, I don't know if society, because it's like we use a society of, I don't know if I'm trying to say that, but we've had enough movies and TV shows and whatnot come out where we now, even people that were never into comics or never into superheroes or never into powers or whatnot, there's enough now, and there's enough material out there where it's accepted. Like, oh yeah, okay, the guy can fly, I accept it, I'll buy into that, and let's see what the story is. So I don't think it is superhero fatigue. I think it's just bad story writing. And maybe Shazam, like Shazam's a good example of this, or maybe, Ant-Man, just thinking in recent memory, right? Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think it's superhero fatigue. And again, like I think when we bitch about what's happened in phase 4 and phase 5 and phase 6, and it's never been about the superheroes, it's been about the lack of a story, the lack of moving things forward, the lack of no direction. So yeah, I think I'm okay with him saying that. Oh, I just had a bunch of my figures fall down. Damn.
Aha! At least it's not me dropping something this time. I'm not playing with anything.
Damn. Yeah, no, I will agree with James Gunn there.
Yeah, like I was just thinking, we've had like relative runs. Like, we had Superman in the 70s. We had Batman, starting off late 80s going to the 90s with like the Punisher and Blade, and it's like there's been a consistent run up for 50 years of comic book properties of some form, even adaptations. Some people probably didn't even know were comic books.
Ghost World,
Scott Pilgrim versus World, which I just rewatched recently. I think now we're getting them more frequent because you're getting 2, 3, maybe a year. So yeah, it's more prevalent now because it's making more money now. But yeah, I would agree that people say they're tired because they're not enjoying what they're seeing. So like, oh, less of this because these ones suck. But if it was good, you'd be saying, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah, if it was a good story, you'd be like, oh man, that was an amazing story. Like, can you believe how it ended? Like, I didn't see that happen. It has to do not with the fact that they're superheroes, but the fact that it's the story, right?
And then with that, we get a 4th Captain America and a rumor that some X-Men are showing up.
Yeah.
This is not real. This is clearly fan art because I hope to God Wolverine, if he shows up, does not look like this. It's not terrible, but it looks a little odd.
So a few episodes back, we had talked about Captain America 4, and then the rumored premise was that the Thunderbolts were going to be involved, and Captain America, Sam Wilson, was involved in the Celestial that was from the Eternals. That's in the ocean that no one's mentioned.
Yeah,
just sitting there.
Hanging out.
Has titanium, or not titanium? Pardon me,
adamantium.
Adamantium.
That's right. Vibranium's Black Panther.
Right, and so the rumor was that was going to be the entry point for the X-Men or mutants or X-Men to be introduced. And so earlier this week, there was a rumor that this movie could introduce 2 characters, which would be amazing. I don't even care like what movie it is that they use to introduce mutants, or not mutants, but the X-Men. Like, just bring them in. Like this, I think this is the injection that Marvel needs to get rid of the complacency that's happening right now, I guess, amongst people that are making those movies and properties. But I don't think it would be Wolverine. I think that would be way too obvious. I'm trying to think of
if you're going to have Hugh come back for Deadpool 3, but you're going to introduce him before, because this one's filming now. So if you're going to have him come in for that, then basically you're saying this is going to be Wolverine moving forward.
Yeah, like I'm trying
to think you have a new Wolverine and then have the old Wolverine show up like a couple months later.
No. And I'm trying to think of like, okay, what is an X-Men that is about, infiltration and scouting and like mercenary work that's not Wolverine. And I'm seeing if I have any figures that might match that description. Maybe Psylocke or Cyclops, pardon me, as I'm like looking away from the camera. But yeah, like it could be. I don't think it's going to be Wolverine. That's my main thing, and they are probably going to press on the fact that, hey, it could actually be Wolverine, but let's not be naive and think that it is, because it's not. It's going to be Iceman and fucking Morph. Who knows?
So what we do know about that movie so far is, Samuel Stearns is coming back, and Thunderbolt Ross is president. Betty's going to be in it.
Yeah.
I think they said this is going to tie into the Captain America Winter Soldier series.
Okay.
And as we know in that series, you watched that, right? The miniseries?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The big conflict in that was the super soldier serum.
Yeah. And the Elijah, what's his last name? The original Captain America.
Right. So this seems like it's going to be leaning very heavily on the Hulk, like storyline from the Incredible Hulk movie. They're going after him for the serum, which would explain why the leader's in it.
Oh yeah, because the leader is in it. That's right.
So again, we're gonna have a movie that's going to build on the series, and then also based on a previous movie. So you really have to have watched everything now at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry though. You
Because
don't
you're not going
have
to
to
know who
watch
Elijah
it.
was if you didn't watch Captain America.
Yeah, you're right.
No one wants to go back and revisit Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk, so you're not going to remember Samuel Stearns.
Quick question: Would
Yes.
you rather rewatch Eric Bana's or Edward Norton's?
Ooh,
It's a tough question, isn't it?
it's a tough question.
Yeah.
I would say Norton because they really fucked with what Hulk could do.
Oh, it was angry.
Big
Just kind of, just like.
Well, why does
gross.
he grow taller the more he gets mad? I don't
Oh, I
understand
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the angrier he gets, he just gets bigger.
Until he's
all
like
that rage
until he's like a Megazord from Power Rangers, just stomping on buildings.
Pretty much, because like by the end of the movie, he was like, what, 20 feet tall?
See, I didn't remember that, which I think is a good thing because I was
I will give him credit. He did try to film it
out.
like a comic book. There's a lot of editing with
Yeah.
panels and shit.
So I'm just thinking the two mutants or X-Men that could make a cameo. If the movie is based around going to that Celestial's body and mining, let's presume it's mining for adamantium.
Okay.
Maybe it's Magneto. Maybe it's Magneto because he controls metal and he's one of the more powerful villains. He is the X-Men's ultimate, villain from not so much nowadays if you read the comics, but originally he was like the leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and the X-Men's main villain. And if he goes to try and steal the adamantium and use it within his power, maybe that's the X-Men coming like, no, he's ours. We got to go capture him. The Avengers like, no. This is like, he's ours. And so maybe it could be Magneto, which, he's up there. He's in my top 5 favorite villains of all time. He's amazing. The original version of him, I should say. So he could be one of them. That would be pretty interesting. It could be him and his daughter Polaris. Polaris also controls metal. She's not as well known of a mutant or an X-Men, but she is one. So you're saying they're filming this right now?
Yeah. I was just thinking too, if Ross is the president, why couldn't you gonna have a little small like diplomacy meeting or something and have like a Magneto or even take that opportunity to have your new Professor X? Just a small little. Why do you need to go all like core X-Men of like the team rather than like the overarching leader of it all?
Is
even like, you know what? Throw a wild card. Bring back Scarlet Witch with Magneto. That's his daughter too.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I mean, at this point, like just Marvel, you've already shown us that you will do things without giving a shit. So do this. So is Captain America 4 like New World Order? Is that a movie or is that going to be a TV series? It's a movie.
A movie.
Okay, good. Okay, so they could afford the effects that they would need for a Magneto. You know what? I'm putting my money down. It's going to be Magneto.
But then you have to give a full out prediction number 2. Who's the second one?
Polaris. I'm going to say Polaris. I'm going to say his daughter.
They do like going obscure.
Yeah. And they both have the same power. And then also on top of that, Polaris is Magneto's daughter, as is Scarlet Witch, as is Quicksilver. But Quicksilver is obviously dead. We watched Age of Ultron this morning, actually, as a side note. But maybe if Polaris is in the movie, then it's also like an underlying conflict in the movie, like sisters that never knew they were sisters fighting against each other, which Polaris started off as a villain in the comics, and then she became good, much like how Scarlet Witch had started. So maybe, again, where's my resume to give to Walt?
I don't know.
God. ChatGPT, write me up a CV now. Stat.
We're gonna have to have a new segment where it's like pitch this, where we try to pitch better movies.
That's right. Totally should. Like,
one last.
It'll be called. The segment will be called. Yeah. What if you did this?
How about you don't do that and do this instead?
That's right.
Fantastic Four rumor that came out within the last day. Apparently, word around town is Galactus and Silver Surfer
In the first movie?
in the first movie. Too big, too soon?
Oh, for Galactus, yes. For Silver Surfer, no. They could use Silver Surfer to build up to Galactus, but Galactus.
If you're going Galactus and Silver Surfer, aren't you just remaking Rise of the Silver Surfer?
100%. And God help us all if they do a cloud in Galactus.
They already have Lawrence Fishburne, so he can come back and do the voice.
If they do Galactus, and it depends how far they go with Galactus. Like if he is the main villain, you just squandered a property that you could have. You've done 3 times over what's already happened to Fantastic Four already.
He's huge right behind you. So
yeah, he's
looking over your shoulder.
He's literally the devourer of worlds. So you're not going to see, and I'm going to say that would be a very idiotic move for the simple reason that there are how many failed Fantastic Four movies?
Including the one that never got released?
Including the one that never got released. So
4.
1, 2, 3,
Ironically,
4.
4.
4. There's 4. And you're going to, you as the MCU are going to say, hey, we're going to take this on. We're going to do it right. We're going to do that, the first family of the Marvel Comics and, do them right. And we're going to, throw in Galactus and Silver Surfer. No, absolutely not. Silver Surfer, yes. But I would even say, treat this as a trilogy, right? So, the first movie should be them obviously getting their powers, exploring and, fighting a mole man, right? Where, there's a villain on Earth that's kind of like a former scientist that they could have, that they did wrong by or whatnot. And then you lead into Silver Surfer, and then you lead into Galactus and have Galactus as a 2-part story. But I also saw somewhere, and I don't know if this is just clickbait material or whatnot, but
everything's clickbait.
Yeah, but that the Fantastic Four, their movie is going to be based around they are from the 1960s, and they've traveled the multiverse, and they've explored the multiverse only to come back to present day. And that's how they're introduced, is that they're from the 60s, but they've traveled the multiverse and they've come back to present day. And they're like a man out of, a family out of time. And then in terms of whatever villain they use, they didn't say in the rumor, but that was kind of one possible idea. And I was like, yeah, could make sense. Reed Richards, 3rd smartest person in the world, could have been smart enough in the 60s before Captain Marvel to say they left and now they've come back and they've gotten their powers on their journeys. And
so it's kind of like taking the small little comedic segments from Winter Soldier and doing a movie on it. Because when they're with Steve, right? They're always telling him stuff he should watch, or he's watched Rocky, he's watched The Godfather.
He has his little book or whatever, and writes it down. Yeah,
so taking that little stuff and blowing it up into a whole movie.
But it would make sense, if they are somehow connected to the multiverse, they created the negative zone, they're responsible for Annihilation. They've, Valerie and not Nathaniel, Valerie and their son's name, Franklin.
Franklin, yeah.
Franklin is his mutant power is that he could create galaxies. That's his power. So I think there's potential in them playing it like that. But this rumor of Galactus and Silver Surfer in movie 1, they would literally just be rinsing and repeating the mistakes that they made in the first 4 attempts. I'll say 3 because the first one was from the 90s. It was. Have you seen it? The first one?
Well, it was never released, and I have not gone down a rabbit hole to find it.
I have seen it. It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Worse than the 2005.
So the I want to say that the in Uncle Buck.
Yes.
What was the boyfriend's name? What was his?
I can't remember his name, but I can picture
it. It was like Flea or it was like a
Flea, that's the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
What's that? Sorry.
This is Fleece from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, but it was a Nats or something like that. Anyway, he played Johnny Storm in that unreleased.
Bug is his
Bug.
name.
That's what it was. Bug.
Jay Underwood played Bug.
And I think he played Johnny Storm in that unreleased Fantastic Four movie. I think. I could be wrong.
Yes, he did.
He did, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it was not good at all.
You don't say.
Anyway, yeah, it was it'd be interesting to see what they do with Fantastic Four, because those that care about the property are going to be watching very closely to make sure that they don't fuck it up like they have many times over. You know,
it's probably going to be your last chance, right?
100%. I mean, if Marvel can't fix it, then it's unfixable, which would be a damn shame for that group of characters. Like, they are literally the first family of Marvel Comics, and if you can't make a solid movie, I'm not even talking about a trilogy, but if you can't make a solid movie about that family and their dynamic, then it's a failure, because Marvel has had now many successes dealing with family dynamics. You think of like Guardians of the Galaxy and other movies, they were able to harness the magic of that dynamic. And if they can hopefully do it with Fantastic Four, I don't know, but they best not get it wrong. You hear me?
Oh, their lawyers will be. We play enough of their stuff.
That's right.
All right, we'll take a breather and regroup for our homework.
Hello. Gotham Corner Store? Yes, we seem to be down to our last Diet Coke. A gentleman is on his way to pick some up. Just look for a black car. No, this black car will be rather difficult to miss. And by the way, the gentleman is usually in quite a rush.
Just for the taste of it, Diet Coke.
I remember every time I put the VHS on to watch Batman.
Man,
just that.
I remember that commercial like it was yesterday.
Did you in fact watch this yesterday?
I should have. But like, just 9 years old, that commercial, that Batmobile, which by far is the Batmobile.
Not the Adam West one.
No, it's not. Like that's for me. That's the Batmobile.
So it's Keaton. What would be your number two? I doubt Kilmer and Clooney's.
In terms of Batman's?
Batmobile.
Okay, so Keaton's number one, West's number two, Bale's number three.
The Tumbler. Never saw the Affleck ones, but his ride didn't look that bad.
Yeah, and then I would say the Clooney one, but the Clooney one with like the huge fin or whatever at the top, like it just didn't. Like, what happens if you went under a bridge? Like,
well, it's true. Like when, especially
my navigation system.
Like the last, like the third of that movie when he's driving. I think it's just because it's just plastic, right? It's just bouncing as he's going. Yeah, and Kilmer's the fin would close and open, which to me,
that's right. Yes, it would.
Made no sense.
That's the order for me. You? What about your order?
Yeah, like I had the Batman Returns Batmobile, the one where you press a button and the side shut off as he's going through the alleyway.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that one will always hold a special place, Mark, because that is literally the only Batmobile toy that I had aside from this little Hot Wheels Adam West that was found somewhere.
Amazing.
And the rest, and like my biggest complaint about the Tumbler is the third movie when there was like 100 of them just driving around. It's like, well, if everyone can get one, like why didn't he just destroy all the other prototypes and kept the one for his Batmobile? And when it got destroyed in the Dark Knight, since there clearly was so many, why didn't he just paint the other ones black?
I'm now thinking like I think I'm coming to realize when it comes to the Dark Knight that a lot of the successes was built off of the score from the movie. And what I mean by that was like, the score and the suspense when the Joker was walking up to you and when he was telling you the story with the knife in his mouth. But then also when it came to the tumbler, like the sound of it when it was driving was like enough to capture you and like, like you were almost in the car, like the chase scene.
Yeah. Plus
So
the
maybe
badass moment where he deploys the bat pod from the tumbler, right? He
That's
comes in the
right.
car that's blown up and then he just shoots out the two wheels, just turning organically into a motorcycle.
Yeah. It's but the original 89 Batmobile, I had the toy of it, and it was like the plastic cover that you just put over, and that was the shield, and I thought it was the coolest thing since sliced bread.
And it drove itself.
So how much do you think, I'd be curious to know, I should say, how much Diet Coke paid to use Michael Keaton, to use the Batmobile, to use Batman, to use Alfred, to use, the Wayne Manor, like all of these different properties that DC potentially could have made money off of. How much did Coke pay? And again, keeping in mind, like I'm gonna peg this commercial as 1989. Like it has to be. You're not using this commercial the year after because
No, this would have been like, I was too young to know about, but from what I've heard, like that was 89. June 89 was like the summer of Batman.
Yeah, for sure it was.
So I guess it all depends. How early did they get in on it? Because if they got in early, they underpaid and reaped all the benefits.
Yeah.
But if they got in just like as it was coming out, and there's the heightened sense of, that's a tough.
It's kind of like the housing market in Ottawa.
Yeah, I can't think that anybody would have ever expected like Michael Keaton, fucking Beetlejuice, Mr. Mom, Tim Burton, who directed Beetlejuice, Pee-wee's Herman. Like aside from Jack, I don't think anybody really gave much credence to this is going to be a serious, big deal. So I don't think they probably paid more than they would, because again, like how many movies prior to that had tie-ins?
I was gonna ask also, what was the superhero movie before 89, but after the last Superman movie? Was there one? I don't think there was, unless it was like a B movie, like an obscure straight to VHS. I'm almost certain there wasn't any theatrical releases. Like I think it was Superman Quest for Peace, and then what was it, 5 years later, which isn't a long time, but then when you think about all of the movies of the 80s, like the 80s were all about content and throwing movies and putting TV shows and whatever. So 5 years is a long time in that decade.
Like it's Swamp Thing 82.
But that was straight to VHS. That wasn't theatrical.
Fair enough. RoboCop.
Okay, fair enough.
Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Never heard
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck, yeah. But that's
the colossal failure that was Howard the Duck. That is how Pixar got founded. I read
from that movie,
because Lucas was like virtually bankrupt after that movie, that he had to sell off stuff, and he sold off the animation division of ILM, which then became Pixar.
Interesting.
Masters of the Universe, 1984.
There's no way Masters, like with Dolph Lundgren.
Oh yeah, it came in 1984. That was the only one I remember that was like a big theatrical release. But
hold on, that movie came out in 1984. Are you sure?
Sorry, 87.
Yeah, okay. Because I remember watching that movie and I was like, "There's no way I was 4 years old when that movie."
No, 87. It made $17 million worldwide off a $22 million budget.
That's the thing. Like back then, like is that considered as? I mean, obviously it's a failure.
Oh no, it was
They
a
didn't-
fucking failure, and
For
like
sure.
they kept cutting stuff out of like money from the budget that they had to like scrap.
I love that
90% of what they wanted to do because they had
Loved
no
it.
money. That's why most of it just takes place on fucking Earth.
Love that movie. There was
Frank Langella, man, as Skeletor, fucking creepy as hell.
first of all, and like He-Man for a minute, like they had one successful season. It was the biggest thing since sliced bread, and then it just crashed. Maybe that was because there was a character that was named Fisto. Like I don't know. Maybe the innuendos of that character killed the whole industry. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
What was the name of the Skeletor, and then not Sheila, but
So
Evil Lynn. That's who it was.
Yeah, Evil Lynn. Sorceress, Man at Arms,
yeah. Tila.
Beastman.
So good.
Yeah, I used to watch the shit out of that movie.
It was it was amazing. And when Skeletor at the end turned into the gold, I'm like, this is awesome.
We did it.
As a 7-year-old, like we've reached the pinnacle of cinema.
It doesn't get any better than this.
That's why I'm like, you think about how we took in movies as kids, and that doesn't hold anything to like. Imagine a 7-year-old back when Endgame was coming out, or just before, and just going to the theaters and being like, "Holy God," as if this is happening. Like that will leave a lasting impression on you for like if He-Man, Masters of the Universe, has stuck with me for 30 years. Imagine what like movies nowadays are doing with kids. So get your shit together, Marvel.
Dolph Lundgren in a loincloth can do it and have a lasting impression. I can only imagine what the CGI is. But the other thing too is nobody cared about those properties, so they could just phone it in and do a shitty, and then
and especially
we love it.
Especially He-Man. Like He-Man, there's actually a book, and I haven't read it, but I've researched it and kind of know a bit about the property. In that it blew up exponentially, and then within 12 months it just died, which is almost the case for a lot of properties in the 80s, because essentially it was a glorified toy commercial for the merchandise that the cartoons were. So it's not it's not a stretch to the imagination to believe that. But with He-Man, it was like 84, it came out, it blew up, it was huge, and then within a year or two it was gone. So they probably bought the rights to this movie in 85 or 86. The movie came out in 87 for next to nothing. Still lost money, but to your point, no one cared about it. Like you could grab it and make the movie if you wanted to.
Because seriously, why would if you have an audience that's ready to go with that cartoon, then they'll come out. Hopefully, they didn't, but
which is surprising because
just for you here,
wouldn't have Dolph Lundgren been
at the far end of the universe? There is a planet ruled by a being of utter evil.
That's CGI.
And there is only one man who dares challenge him.
Love it. And he grabs the sword.
In a battle to the death. A battle that will take them across the heavens. Stop him! A battle that will finally be fought.
They better have KFC in this trailer.
Across the face.
Product placement.
Police! Nobody move!
Of Earth.
Slackers. That's what they are.
Yeah, slackers. That's right.
I think I'm gonna need some backup.
Father was a slacker.
Can you show us the way? No.
Somebody help me!
Oh, Courtney Cox. Look Look at that choreography.
From a distant galaxy, they have come to Earth. Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, Frank Langella as Skeletor. Only they have the powers to be masters of the universe.
Nice.
Live the adventure.
The motion picture.
I mean, take it for what it is. It doesn't.
We were singing its praises 3.5 minutes ago, and then it was, well, I remember it being okay.
I remember it being all right. Like, I just remember at the beginning of the movie too. Like, they went to KFC or whatever, went to the fast food place, and yeah, I'm surprised that it wasn't included in the trailer. But Dolph Lundgren, I was gonna ask, was it like Dolph Lundgren was at his peak around that time? Cyborg,
Rocky IV, right?
Rocky IV, all of these movies that he built like a shit brick house. So of course, he fit the mold of the 80s hero, right? Where they needed to be big and Arnold's and Jean Van, whatever his name is.
Jean-Claude.
Thank you. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like so.
Oh yeah, Punisher was also 89.
I vaguely remember Lundgren's
that movie. Punisher.
Yeah. I liked Thomas Jane. Is that Thomas Jane? I liked that Punisher. That was a John Travolta. It was okay. It was good.
The made-up villain, Howard Saint.
And then the Russian. That was a great scene. Rebecca Romaine Stamos was in it.
Did you watch the Punisher Warzone?
No.
I
couldn't do. I listened to a podcast on it, and they were saying like, was it Ray Stevens? Is that? Yeah, like
Stevenson.
Thank you. He was perfectly cast for that movie, but then everything else about that movie just fell apart. Like the stereotypes and like even just the dialogue and the writing and like it just it was
just because you're a New York mobster doesn't mean you got this guy over here.
Yeah, like laying it on pretty thick, right?
Yeah.
So did you watch Hot Wet American Summer?
For our homework, I did watch.
Yeah. I didn't.
You bastard.
I've seen it before a couple times, but I when I had said this was the homework, I was under the full assumption that it was going to be streaming on one of the platforms. And
well, I assume since the like 2 miniseries that they did was on Netflix, that the movie would be there as well.
No, it's not. It's not. So you have you seen this movie? Like, was this
I had seen bits and pieces. This is my first full through.
Okay, so tell me what you think.
That was all right. Like my biggest beef is I didn't find it at all believable that they would just let kids die and nothing ever came of it.
But there is no sense of belief in this movie. Like, you were not expected
to. No, I get that. But it just like, there's literally a scene where kids are getting picked up and no one's like, hey, where is Tommy? Or where's my son?
We're just getting chucked out the van.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, you got to cast that aside, Corey.
Fair enough.
You got to cast that aside. Like, David
Hyde Pierce.
His character was amazing in the movie. There's one scene like where, and it's one of my favorite scenes where, Janine Garofalo, I'm bad with names tonight. Janine Garofalo was trying to convince him to like come and teach the kids, I think it was. And like she kept on going on and I said no. Anyway, big satellite coming crashing down. It was great. I mean, a stupid movie, but it was a
Mhm.
funny, stupid movie.
And it is fun to see where all those people like later went on to become or to do.
Yeah, it's a pretty big laundry list of notable actors that are in that movie.
I do when I was looking up some stuff, but I do find it funny that they did a prequel series like 20 years after this movie, or 7 or 8 years, not 20 years, and they're all older, but they're playing younger versions of themselves.
Is it the same? Is it Bradley Cooper that's in?
He's in one of the miniseries. And the other one they recast him, but he comes back for one of them.
What did you think of the cook? I can't remember his name, but the cook who was like,
shit, I know who he is too.
Where he was talking like it was. What was he measuring?
Like the beans.
The beans. That's right. What'd you say to me? It was good. It's funny. It was funny.
It's, Christopher Maloney. That's right. Stabler from SVU.
SVU. That's right. He's in Law and Order. Yeah, I wish I think maybe just my homework for next time is to make sure that it's streaming on a platform before I reco it. So
yeah, like you can't Paul Rudd's good in almost everything that he's in. So he was aside from being like a horrible human being in that movie, he's still pretty funny.
And his girlfriend in the movie,
Marguerite Monroe. She's in Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks. Yeah. Okay.
Connie and Mighty Ducks.
So yeah, like the firepower in this movie was pretty good, I would say.
I did find it believable. I know they're all clearly in their 20s and shit, but the idea that because they're 16, that she when she says to the one guy at the end how she loves him and everything, but she wants to stay with Paul Rudd's character because he's hot and I don't care if he's cheating on me, but it's like all the social status of it all.
Yeah.
And same thing, he doesn't want it earlier when he's cheating on her with Elizabeth Banks. He doesn't want to break up with her because she's hot and stuff, even though she drives him nuts. And he has no interest in talking to her or anything.
Elizabeth Banks, was she in the scene when they drove into town and they got high and they robbed people for that? There was that little montage for when they went into the scene. It was such a great part. It was Amy Poehler's in it too. That's right. Yeah.
The talent show at the end, just with like the old man that's like the MC, just like every little lame joke, everyone's just like in stitches.
So again, like I wasn't able to watch it, but just going off of memory, was the old guy, was he the same actor as Blue in Old School? You're my boy, Blue.
He's what's the kid's name? Let me get it up here because since I've only saw it once, I'm not remembering everyone's fucking characters' names. He's Michael Showalter, who plays Coop, also does the old guy. He's just in makeup.
Oh, he's in makeup. Okay. Yeah, like it's I need to see. Is it 2003? I want to say this movie, or 2001.
2001. Yeah.
Yeah. My God. 22 years
ago.
It's
very much a small production. You can tell from all that. I think Paul said in an interview he's not even entirely sure that he got paid.
Really?
So you think they meant to?
This would have been after Clueless, I'm assuming. Yeah, it must have been. Because Clueless must have been in the 90s, and he was in that movie, and I think that was his big break. Yeah, Paul Rudd, like in Clueless, he originally was in Hollywood as like the heartthrob, and then clearly that didn't work, and then he took the comedic route, and it worked out for him. So
yeah, he was in one of the Halloweens.
Oh, was he really? Yeah.
I
haven't seen any of them, so I'm.
Oh no, not even the OG.
No, are you kidding? No, I've seen Friday. I'm a pussy when it comes to that shit. I've seen the first Friday the 13th.
The
And when
Kevin Bacon one?
And when I saw it, I was like, well, why was I scared of this? It's just stupid.
Just an old lady.
I don't quite remember. I just remember watching it and being like, it's not that scary. Maybe I was fronting. I don't know. But yeah, I don't remember much about scary movies. So
I love scary movies. They're hilarious.
You know what's it was like maybe 10:30, 11 last night, and I was like, I think I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna try and watch The Last of Us. like Jade obviously was flying in last night, so just going to bed early and whatever. I was gonna watch it in bed, lights off, and kind of prep myself. Like I'm gonna do it. And I have the iPad up, and no, not gonna do it. I'm gonna instead watch. What movie was it? It was the movie with Nicolas Cage where he is playing Nicolas Cage. Search for extreme talent or
unbearable talent or something.
And it was quite good.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Although the one scene where he's like making out with himself is a little.
See, I stopped about an hour in because I was like, I think Jade will like this movie, so we're gonna watch it.
Never get back to it now.
No, we will, because I was like, yeah, Jade will definitely. At least
you were on brand and kept Pedro Pascal, and
yeah. Well, I was listening to a podcast a couple of nights ago, and they mentioned it, and the guy was going on about how good it was, and I figured like if anyone could take the piss about themselves, then it would be Nick Cage, and if you can, then it could maybe be a good movie, and it was like.
To keep this on brand, I am currently rewatching Kick-Ass, which also has Nick Cage.
Oh yeah, the dad,
Big Daddy.
So how far in the movie are you?
About half.
Does it hold up?
Yes and no. Like it does in the sense that like, it's a modern movie, so like, and it's less CGI, more practical what they're doing.
Right.
But it does kind of your link rings a little bit more hollow now than it did when it first came out.
Yeah. So when it first came out, it was like, holy shit, like this is a way of storytelling that you don't really hear that much about, very violent and like the superhero, like the vigilante kind of angle. But yeah, like maybe it doesn't, because what is it from the early 2010s?
Let me double check.
I'm gonna guess 2012. That's my guess.
Stop asking like follow-up questions to everything we do, because like the rest of the podcast just literally allow me to look this up, and while it loads, we will.
It was great.
I will say this though, the hyper violence of it,
because it was definitely it was after. It was
2010. The second one came out in 2013, which was after Sandy Hook.
Okay. Oh, it was after Sandy Hook.
Oof. Yeah, which is why there was a lot of talk of delay the release or not the release because of gun violence.
That's right. I completely forgot about that. But I mean, isn't there a mass shooting like every other day down there? It's terrible.
Oh, one thing I forgot to ask you. Was a topic of conversation since we were talking about Batman earlier. You're feeling hands down the best rogues gallery?
Batman's?
Yeah.
Are we talking just DC or Marvel as well?
We're just talking about a character who has the best overall run of villains. Like A-list level villains. Because I'm sure you can make the argument that there's at least one A-list villain for comparable to the hero, but one that just would have the most robust. Are we just thinking that because more of them have been used cinematically than other characters?
See, for me personally, I think the Flash has the best rogues gallery. Whether they are as widely known as Batman's, and I say that with the understanding that Batman is like a very close second.
Is it the names that make them sound ridiculous?
It's the powers. Like, it's just the random powers of it. You know, you got the weather wizard. You've got the
Like
you
there's
know,
a
the
weather
trickster,
wizard and
weather
Captain
wizard,
Cold and Captain
trickster,
Boomerang.
boomerang, heat wave. Like you got, and they're just
Is it the names that kill him? Because Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, like those don't sound as ridiculous.
So another reason why I would say that is the very first comic I ever read as a kid was Flash 216.
Okay.
And in that issue, it was like from the 70s, late 70s. And in that issue, Barry Allen had to dress as Captain Cold and pretend to be Leonard Snart. And so right away, like I have this affinity attachment to Captain Cold.
The good guy's dressing up like the bad guy.
Yeah, and I think I think I would have to say Flash. My answer would be Flash only because each of the rogues, as I just said, have a very unique set of skills. Like Liam Neeson, I have a very unique set of skills. But yeah, like Batman would be inches inside from being in first place, you know, because they're very iconic, right?
Yeah, I would say DCs are probably better because I find, if I think about it, a lot of Marvel villains overlap.
Yes, yeah, they do.
She's like who's Spider's great villains? Like Kingpin, yeah.
Kingpin, Daredevil as well, right?
And then you have characters that are also not anti-heroes, like, you know, the Punisher is a Spider-Man villain, but he's also his own run.
Yeah.
And then you have Avenger level villains, right?
So here's even a question beyond that question is, if you remove Batman and Flash, what would be the next best character in DC that would have the greatest rogues gallery? And that's where it starts to get difficult. Like, that's where it starts to get difficult. Because you could say, like, well, Superman, but Superman is omnipotent. You know, he's, you know, the indestructible Man of Steel.
Yeah, take Doomsday out.
And then you got Metallo. You got, you know,
like Metallo, most people can't even pronounce properly. They're like Metallo.
Metallo. That's right. Yeah. I'm looking at my figures right now. They're really, I mean, Darkseid could be, but even Flash, like Reverse Flash too. Yeah, it has to be. I'm gonna go with Flash.
Like, for me, with the Flash, I also find is a lot like Spider-Man, where a bunch of the villains are just the same villain with a different color of a name or something. Like, you know, Green Goblin and Hobgoblin, or later on they had Red Goblins. You have Reverse Flash, Godspeed. What was it?
Every other name.
Every other speedster.
Yeah, like it's bad.
Black was Death was it Black?
No,
Death?
it was Black Flash. It was
Black Flash. He's
what was it? That was the second season. It was actually a good season.
Oh, Professor Zoom.
Professor Zoom, thank you. Yeah, that's who it was.
And then fucking Savitar.
See, I have right here.
You have Red Death, which is also a speedster.
I have right here, and it's signed by Carmine Infantino, and it's the first appearance of like Heat Wave, Captain Boomerang, Weather Wizard.
Weather Wizard's just hard to say.
Yeah. Gorilla Grodd. Gorilla Grodd's another one too, that's right. The Top, Mirror Master, Pied Piper. Yeah. So good. But yeah, you're right. Like, it's a very good point though. Like, when it comes to Marvel, they do overlap, you know, like there's I'm trying to think.
I'd say Spider-Man would probably, to me, be the best one on that side. You know, aside from like your Green Goblin, you have, you know, Mysterio, Kraven, the Lizard, Dr. Octopus, Venom, Carnage. Again, other villains that are just variations.
Vulture, Sandman, Kraven.
Sandman. Just the Sinister Six.
Well, they had the Sinister Six, and then you could layer on another 6, and then another 6 after that. So
Chameleon.
And I don't know if you would ever get to
Rhino.
I don't know if you'd ever get to that point in comics again where all of these characters that we're talking about, the Batman rogues and Flash and Spider-Man rogues, were created in the 60s, where like they used analogs of like spiders and animals and all of these like different, whereas now like
to what they do.
like now you've either A, exhausted all of the options that you could use, or B, are just not creative enough.
Well, like I said, when I was watching this season of Superman and Lois, an Automatopoeia showed up, which again, we talked last time. Kevin Smith created like less than a decade ago. It's a cool looking villain, and it's something that's different, right? It's all based on sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, this day and age with adaptations and stuff, are you going to create something new, or are you just going to rehash what's come from the past?
Rehash. It's all about
rehash.
You know what? I'm going to rehash
almost weekly.
I'm going to redesign the suit. They're going to use my suit in the movie, and that's how I'm going to get paid. That's what it's all about now. Everything now with the comics is, how can I get my story or my character in a movie, and I will get paid. How much? No idea, but they will get something.
It'll be something. Everybody gets their 2 bits. All right, sir. I think we've exhausted this evening. This conversation that I have. I don't know if you have anything additional.
I've got like another hour and a half of.
Oh, perfect. I'm done. My slides are done.
That's right. No, I'm good. I think. It's. I'm gonna look into a bit more about the Fantastic Four rumors, because that's awful if that's the case. Would not be happy about that.
No. Well, like I said, if one movie had both, well, 1.5, because Galactus was just a cloud. And don't get me started on cloud villains again.
Why not? They're the best kind.
We'll tell it to Parallax.
Yeah, I was good. Yeah, and then I was even actually going to mention that movie too. Like, hey, let's introduce Yellow Ring Sinestro at the end of the movie, which was sick. And not knowing you're not going to do anything with it.
Mark Strong, also the villain in Kick-Ass.
Oh, right. Such a forgettable
always plays
movie.
The bad guy.
Well, he plays a good bad guy. Like, he's found his niche. Like, because he played a very phenomenal Sinestro.
Yeah, I thought it was believable. Like, to me was the best part of that movie.
And in
like
Shazam,
being friends with Hal and
Dr. Savannah, he played a good Savannah. I don't remember Kick-Ass. I don't remember.
It's just a mobster.
Yeah. Was it believable though? Or
he's a good actor.
There you go.
That's all you want.
Follow us socially on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Open Collar Pod. COLLAR, not ERAR.
If you can't spell collar,
we've got some problems. We don't even want you as a listener. So,
but we do. We want everybody.
Everyone. Like,
even
subscribe,
if you just
comment.
Comment, send questions. We will answer them. Well, or ask them and get stuck if it's like a who's better, this or that.
We might reply back to you and be like, could you please clarify? Could you do that?
Do you need an essay?
That's right. Have you used ChatGPT for your question? If not
recently.
Please advise.
That's it. And with that, your feel-good filming.
Keep it geeky.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Pee Wee Herman, and this is my friend Godzilla, and oh look, Gumby. Hello, Gumby. Hello. Well, they died. Anyway, we're all here watching Nickelodeon with true stories from famous people.
That was literally